6th century, Arabia was a harsh and unforgiving land. The Arabs called it home. They lived in a tribal society, fiercely loyal to their clans and bound by an honor system that defined their lives. But the tribal system was also fraught with blood feuds, inequality, and injustice. Women and the poor were often marginalized, and the practice of killing infants was a dark reality. This was a time known as the Age of Ignorance. In this fractured and divided world, Arabia stood isolated, untouched by the influence of the Roman and Persian empires. But one night changed everything. The angel Gabriel descended from the heavens, carrying a divine message for a man destined to redefine the course of history. It was in the solitude of a cave nestled in the mountains near Mecca that the angel Gabriel appeared to the Prophet Muhammad. That night signified the start of the divine revelations, messages conveyed by the angel Gabriel directly from God to the Prophet Muhammad, upon him be peace.
Over the next 23 years, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he received a series of divine revelations. They were revealed to him through the Archangel Gabriel in the form of verses. These revelations were later compiled into the Holy Book of Islam, known as the Quran. Let's take a moment to listen to an example of some verses from the Holy Quran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
The Quran profoundly transformed pre-Islamic society by introducing principles that upheld human rights and social justice. It emphasized on the equality of all individuals, prohibited infanticide, and advocated for the fair treatment of women. Additionally, the Quran promoted social welfare through obligatory charity and encouraged the pursuit of knowledge, with the first verse from the Quran being, "Read in the name of your Lord." These teachings led to significant changes among the Arabs at the time, elevating the status of marginalized groups and encouraging a culture that valued learning and compassion.
Just 2 years after the passing of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Islam has spread across the entire Arabian Peninsula. A once divided land had become a unified community bound by faith and a new sense of purpose.
But the story doesn't end there. Right after the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Muslims needed someone to lead them. This leader was called a caliph, which means a successor. The caliphs were chosen to guide Muslims and keep the community united. The early caliphs led Muslim armies beyond the borders of Arabia. In less than a century, these armies swept across vast territories from the western reaches of India to the shores of Spain. A single powerful empire known as the Caliphate was born.
Islam experienced a significant expansion under the leadership of the first four caliphs. Their primary mission was to propagate the Islamic faith and establish a just socio-political order. The conversion to Islam during this period was voluntary. The Quran explicitly states there is no compulsion in religion, emphasizing that faith should be a personal choice. In many regions, non-Muslims were allowed to continue practicing their religions. This facilitated a relatively peaceful coexistence and gradual conversion over time.
The rise of Islam was more than the spread of a religion. It was the birth of a civilization that would bring an era of cultural and scientific achievements known as the Islamic Golden Age. The story of that rise begins with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but it spans centuries, continents, and cultures, shaping the world as we know it today.
The Muslim world experienced a period of unparalleled growth, creativity, and discovery, an era that would later be called the Islamic Golden Age. For centuries, Islamic civilization was at the forefront of human progress. During this time, scholars in Baghdad, Damascus, Cordoba, and beyond built on the knowledge of ancient civilizations and made groundbreaking advancements in science, medicine, mathematics, and the arts. However, the Golden Age of Islam eventually came to an end.
Over the centuries, the original unity of Islam was lost, slipping away into the pages of history, never to be regained. The Caliphate, once a symbol of Islam, strength and unity, crumbled under the relentless Mongol onslaught in 1258. The Mongols, led by Hulagu Khan, attacked Baghdad, which is in modern-day Iraq. The city fell, its people were slaughtered, and its cultural treasures were destroyed. This marked the tragic end of the Islamic Golden Age. Yet even the political structure, fractured Islam itself, continued to spread, with Muslim kingdoms rising and falling in its wake.
As the 19th century drew to a close, the once formidable power of Islam had faded. European nations expanding their empires brought most Muslim regions under their control. The Ottoman Empire struggled to hold its territories as European powers divided the Muslim world for their own gain. In the Indian subcontinent, British colonial rule brought devastation, leading to poverty and displacement, while in North Africa and the Middle East, French and Italian forces carved out colonies. For many Muslims, this period was marked by a deep sense of frustration and loss, a feeling that their golden age was long gone.
But the tides of history turned. In the second half of the 20th century, these nations reclaimed their independence, throwing off the grip of colonial rule. Countries like Pakistan, Egypt, Algeria, and others gained independence through revolts, negotiations, and political unity. Despite the political and economic decline that marked this era, the global Muslim population surged. And for the first time, Islam transcended regional boundaries, becoming a truly global religion.
In the 21st century, Islam is no longer tied to a single empire or region. Today, it is a faith that unites over 2 billion people from all walks of life. Whether in the bustling streets of Jakarta, the streets of sub-Saharan Africa, or the suburbs of Western cities, Islam continues to shape the lives of people all over the world, standing as a reminder of the enduring power of faith through the rise and fall of empires.